Awesome. So today I am here with Cathy Storey, and Cathy is the Children's Ministry Director at Carlisle E Free Church. So super excited to chat today, Cathy.
I'm excited to be here and chat with you too, Chris.
Awesome. Well, I'm curious what kind of called you into ministry, and how did you find yourself at CEFC Church?
Okay, well, I've been doing children's ministry for about 30 years, and I
Oh,
quite
wow.
got into it by accident. Well, not by accident. God does nothing by accident, but purposely. I asked for prayer that from my prayer group that God would help me find the purpose for my life. And next thing I
Mm.
know, I'm working in children's ministry, and as that developed over the years, I haven't looked back. I've felt a calling and a passion for children's ministry all of this time. What brought me to CEFC is my husband was in the Army, and this was our last duty assignment. Started attending church here, and I came onto staff and part-time at first, and then when the children's ministry director position opened up, I accepted that position 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. That is exciting to hear it. Yeah, so I'm curious, with your perspective on being involved part-time and volunteering in the kids ministry before joining as a full-time team member at CFC, how does that kind of impact how you recruit volunteers and stuff? Like, what are your typical tips there, and how has that changed how you think about recruiting and where you can source people for your team from?
So I believe that the best way to get people involved in your ministry is not to recruit them, but to invite them to the opportunity to serve, and
Absolutely.
to invite them to the opportunity to feed into the next generation of children and raising disciples. The best way to get people to serve, be and have the ones who are there serving already invite their friends along to join with them.
Absolutely. So that is great. And yeah, it's very, very important. You're not recruiting someone. You are inviting someone for the
Right.
opportunity to serve. And that's like it seems like a small language shift there, but it's actually not. It's a lot deeper. So what are some other kind of values and such you and your team operate with by so that you don't lose track of what you're actually trying to focus on?
So we try to make it as our volunteers as possible. When our volunteers say yes, they know that we are they're having their back. So we prep all of our materials for our classrooms. Our volunteers just have to come in. The material is set out and prepped and ready to go. We use Playlister, and so we have the playlist ready on the TV. So all they have to do is come and push a button to their slides and to their teaching materials. We a weekly text about what's coming up on Sunday, just as a reminder of, hey, this is what we're having. And then we come for 10 minutes every Sunday before the kids just pray together and to cast vision and to um, just connect for a moment. Those are the things we do on a routine basis, but we also twice a year throw big celebrations. Instead of trainings, we don't do trainings, we do celebrations. And so have a pancake breakfast once a year in February and have a time of prayer and fun. And then we sponsor a family day at the lake every August for our volunteers and their families to come and just enjoy a barbecue on us at the lake.
So, yeah, well, I can definitely get behind the idea of celebrations instead of trainings. So yeah, awesome. Well, that is interesting because it really, when you focus on what people are engaged about, you really do channel more quality engagement and get more folks interested in serving and connecting with the next
Right.
generation. And on top of that, let's shift gears a little bit. So when it comes to creating, um, you know, experiences in the classroom that deepen the next generation's faith and engage them simultaneously, like what are some ways you do that, and what advice do you have for other children's ministry leaders there?
So we have 5 wins that we focus on every week. The first win is be 10 minutes early so we can meet together and get our vision buckets full, and we can just encourage each other and get excited for the day. The second win that we have is we encourage our volunteers to read their lessons before they come in, so that as soon as the kids get there, they're not looking through their lessons, they're ready to go. The third win that we have is we are going to greet every child by name at the door and ask them one question about their life and their day and help them feel loved and welcomed and ready to go. And then we help them by being fully 100% whatever the moment calls for. So if it calls for being fun and exciting in large group time, we're going to be fun and exciting. If it calls for being serious during small group time, we're going to be serious. So we're going to show kids what it means to be engaged in learning by doing it ourselves. And then finally, we are going to sit knee to knee and eyeball to eyeball in small groups and have those deep discussions and pray with the kids and just let them know that we care and that we're there for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, could not agree more with those. And like how those 5 minutes touch on all aspects of how you operate in ministry, from huddling up with everyone before the kids come in to, hey, building an engaging relationship with the kids in the ministry. And, on that thread, what are some of your like short-term and long-term ministry goals?
Well, short term for us is launching our fall programs. We just switched curriculums this last week, and so getting into the rhythm of a new curriculum for Sunday morning. But our Wednesday night clubs start on next week, and so getting those kicked off and going well. And on Wednesday nights, we also offer parenting classes. So our mission is to connect kids to Christ by partnering with parents so that families can live all of their life for Christ. And so Wednesday nights, while kids are in clubs, we offer parenting classes, helping parents learn what does it mean to be a disciple to disciple your children. So those are short-term goals, just getting those launched well. And then long-term goals always is to just grow the ministry by loving families right where they're at.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. And yeah, the way I like how the short-term goals, they feed into those long-term goals there. And so I'm curious, like, what are the specific challenges that you think come up the most that either like complicate the short-term goals or stand in the way of long-term goals for you that you see or have seen in other ministries as well?
Well, I think everyone in children's ministry would say having enough volunteers. Having enough volunteers in the spaces on a consistent basis, because life is busy. And we are facing the reality of travel sports and Sunday activities and just, that is the biggest challenge right now, is that consistency. We will have over 400 kids in a given month, but maybe 200 on a Sunday. So that routine, consistent attendance and just trying to figure out how do we teach lessons that will connect with kids, whether you're there 4 weeks or 1 week. And so just looking at our program and looking at what are the challenges we're facing now that maybe even pre-COVID we weren't facing, because COVID changed how families do church. And so what are we doing to meet that challenge and change? So volunteers and family attendance.
Absolutely. So let's pull on each of those threads a bit. So we talked a bit earlier on inviting volunteers to serve. When we kind of touched on a high level overview of that. What are some specific things you've done that have helped the most there that you would recommend other folks try, or things you're hoping to try that you've heard?
Well, one of the things that we have moved away from is requiring a volunteer to commit for a year. Okay. Because that is, as much as we would love for that consistency in relationship, our lead teachers, we ask them to do that. But for our small group leaders and some of those, we've started going, okay, can you commit for the fall season and do a 3-month commitment? Or if you can commit for the year, can you do every other week? And then having teams. So offering options for our volunteers to commit. We have some volunteers that just do fifth Sundays. Fifth Sundays are hard. Because if you have people who serve every other week, or the first and third, or the second and fourth, what do you do with those fifth Sundays? So just giving volunteers options of serving rather than saying, okay, you have to serve this whole time or we can't use you. So just trying to work with volunteers and our church members to find a place that works for them. Also, we do test driving up front. Yeah. We let them test drive in several different places to find what fits, because maybe you sign up and 4-year-olds are not your thing, but you excel with fifth graders. So we do test driving and let people find their fit. And then for the summer, we always do in April or May, we do a Give Me a Break campaign, where we pass out Kit Kats with a little postcard to all of our families that say, hey, our volunteers need a break this summer. Can you commit to 1 or 2 Sundays this summer so our volunteers can take vacation? And it's amazing how many people will step in and say, yeah, I can cover it so they can take a vacation. So just those short-term asks make it a little bit more doable for some of our families.
Oh yeah. Well, love the Give Me a Break campaign. You know, that's genius. It's creative. Everyone loves Kit Kats. So that absolutely works. And yeah, well, love those actionable ideas there, Cathy. And then you also mentioned, hey, another big obstacle, which is very much outside of our control, or at least partially out of our control, is just the way families attend church, the way we do church kind of differently now post COVID. So, what are some things, especially honing in on, hey, we want to enable families to talk about Christ, to explore that relationship? What are some things that you have focused on in kids ministry that have kind of helped with the overall retaining families that come to your church?
Well, we do a couple of things. I'm a really big user of databases and technology. And so I had our database, we use Planning Center, and I had them set up workflows. So if a child comes and doesn't check in for 3 weeks, I get a little notice that says, hey, send this family a we miss you card. And so it's just a way to use technology, because when you're at a large church or a small church, sometimes weeks will go by and you don't notice the family's not there. And so use technology to help you notice. And then in the parent newsletter, I like to give links to what our lessons are. So maybe if they're going to the ballpark on Sunday, they can watch the Bible story video on their way, or have a family devotion time like that. And then on our social media during the week, we will post some ideas for them to do family engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that is a great point you made. It's like, hey, don't rely on your just natural awareness to see if someone's been missing. There's so much stuff going on. You might not notice that. So yeah, technology is our friend when it comes to just maintaining awareness.
Right.
Yeah, a brilliant advice there, Cathy. And I'm just kind of curious. I appreciate you sharing so much. What are some just other pieces of advice you'd have for kids ministry leaders?
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I think just making sure you rest. Resting is a spiritual gift, and especially kicking off into the fall, children's ministry leaders, we've run hard all summer, and now we're kicking off the fall. So make sure you take some time to spiritually renew and rest, so that you can be in it for 30 years. The other advice is, get outside children's ministry. It's easy to get lost in the halls of our classrooms on Sunday, but we need to get out and go meet the families and be in the lobbies and build relationships with people who maybe don't have children, because they will be great volunteers, but you have to build relationships. So go grab a cup of coffee in the lobby and talk to everyone. Get outside kids ministry area. And the third is just depend on God. This is not my ministry. This is God's ministry. And so completely depending on him to to open the doors that need to be opened and provide.
Absolutely. Well, could not agree more there, Kathy. So thank you for sharing. And yeah, I know these insights will help kids and leaders everywhere, especially the ones that need to rest right now. So yeah, all that is spectacular and appreciate you sharing so much.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.